role-playing game system. My name is Josiah Mork, and I'm incredibly excited to walk you through this third module of the rulebook. Unlike most tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons, which gives you one chunky textbook to learn before you can play, Pen breaks it down into easily digestible modules that let you get started quickly and add more rules at your own pace. If you haven't seen our video introducing you to the system or walking you through character creation and items in Module 2, I definitely recommend that you hit the like and subscribe button, go back to our profile, and watch those before you dive into this one, just to make sure that you're caught up on how everything works. But in any case, let's dive into all of the awesome systems that really open up in this third module. First off is item crafting. Item crafting is one of my most favorite systems in the game because it gives you an incredible opportunity to play an artificer type character or a battlesmith or battle mage to create custom items perfect for your party. How it works is all you have to do is collect a bunch of crafting ingredients, and there's a sample list included in Pen RPG of what ingredients those might look like, whether it's ingots of metal, scraps of leather, straps of wood, circuit boards, wires, anything to fit your setting. It's even categorized by setting to make sure that your GM has easy ideas of what to put in your place if you're playing a crafting-minded character. To craft an item, all you have to do is spend the ingredients and make a mechanics roll. A mechanics skill roll is made by rolling 3 6-sided dice, adding your mechanics skill, and adding any other relevant bonuses. If you succeed, your ingredients are spent and you have to spend a number of actions working on that item until it's completed. The number of actions required is standardized depending on the type of item that you're making and the bonuses that that item grants. This means that whether you're crafting one of the preset items in the rulebook or an item entirely of your own design, there's a set number of actions that it will take to make sure it's fair and balanced, but still freeform enough for you to create on the whim to fit with whatever character it is that you're making. Next is spellcasting. Spellcasting is entirely freeform, so instead of having to deal with huge lists of spells with random names, different ingredients, and certain trivialities and specifications that make it difficult to understand how they work, you are entirely in control of what you do with your spells. To write a spell, all you have to do is make a certain number of choices based on the elements that your spell affects, the action that your spell is going to take, the duration of the spell, the distance or range that you're executing it from, whether it's at a touch or maybe a mile away, and the number of people or area that your spell is going to affect. Each of these is going to contribute a penalty to your magic roll, meaning that the bigger area, for example, you want to affect with your spell, the more difficult that spell is going to be to cast. Then, using all of those specifications that you've chosen, you're going to write out exactly what you want your spell to do. There's a specific list of guidelines to make sure that you're not going completely off the rails for the sake of your game master, but it still offers a ton of latitude for you to create spells off the cuff in the moment that can sling fireballs, poison water, resurrect enemies, create hordes of undead, summon stone bridges, or anything else that you can possibly imagine. This massive amount of flexibility also scales really well with your character. Whether you're a level 1 character or a level 20 character, you'll be able to cast spells that reflect your power. This opens up a ton of opportunities as your character grows because you'll have the bonuses and the skill points to take on some of those bigger challenges and those more difficult casting options. But spellcasting characters aren't the only ones that get to have fun. Combat maneuvers let melee-oriented characters get special bonuses and cause penalties to their enemies based on the weapons that they're using. Each maneuver corresponds to certain items that your characters might be carrying. For example, if you're using a battle axe, you might be able to take a leaping slash at an enemy or swing wide to hit a bunch of enemies standing close to each other. If you're using a whip, you might be able to disarm a nearby enemy or crack it in their face to intimidate them and cause a penalty for your allies' attacks. Before you make a combat roll, whether it's attacking or defending, you can choose a maneuver to add to that roll. If the roll is successful, regardless of whether you do damage to the defending character, you get to resolve whatever that effect is. This means that even if characters are incredibly outclassed by an enemy, say you're a level 1 noob who has no idea what they're doing, facing off against a giant armored skeleton monster, over the course of that combat, you can still improve your odds at fighting that creature by using maneuvers to inflict penalties on them and buff up your characters or your allies. This allows melee-oriented characters to still have a ton of creative latitude in how they want to take out their enemies, and use their weapons to the greatest effect in combat situations. Players can even combine different options. So say you want to make a jump so that your character moves away, but you also want to take a heavy slash to inflict extra damage. If your character is high enough level, you can combine these combat maneuvers into a signature move that lets your character take a leaping slash, doing extra damage and moving away from your enemy. In this way, your character is even more customizable by being able to play into your favorite combat-oriented items and inflict heavy penalties on your enemies. The next system in Module 3 is supporters. Now, everybody loves the idea of having non-player characters follow you around and support you. If you've ever played Fallout or Skyrim or other video game RPGs, you know that this is so much fun. They add extra attacks to your character, they can follow around, have fun conversation situations. But in tabletop role-playing games, this can get bogged down really quickly. If you're having to manage 3-4 different character sheets for all of your NPCs and your character that are all taking separate turns, have separate items, different stats, it can really get out of hand. Pen is created to be fast and furious, so we created a supporter system that kind of cuts through all of that red tape. When you bring on an NPC helper, in this game called a supporter, they will grant you a single special ability to your party for each supporter that you have. These vary wildly depending on the type of supporter, and there's over 20 different types of supporters included in the game, giving you a ton of flexibility. You can bring on cooks who mitigate the amount of food that your party needs to eat each day. You can bring on lawyers, which get you out of sticky role-playing situations by having them fight with city officials for you. You can have fans that go to the city and talk you up to everyone to improve your reputation. You can have soldiers that grant an extra attack on every round of combat, reflecting them going into battle fighting for you. There's a ton of other opportunities, but all of them are super convenient and easier than having to manage a whole nother character for each NPC that's following your party around. This also gives you a ton of fun options where if you want to play, say, an army of mercenaries where you have 15, 20, 30 NPCs working with you, each character can manage 4 or 5 of them, and all they have to remember is that they have 4 or so extra abilities with each round of combat. That's way easier and way simpler than any other tabletop role-playing games NPCs on the market, and just another way that we are making NPCs faster, more furious, and more fun for you. The last system in Module 3 is for battles. Battles are if you want to go beyond just these 20 or 30 NPCs that are following you around, and you want to command entire divisions of 500, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 soldiers in huge scale combats. These can be amazing ways to finish out a campaign or a story and offer an incredible climax to the battle. To do this, all you have to do is count up the number of troops you have, the technology that they have compared to your opponent, the terrain that they're fighting in, and the terrain that your opponent is defending in. Each of these will give you a number of 6-sided dice that add to your army pool. At the end of each combat round, where your characters are in the thick of it fighting it out, you'll roll your army pool dice, as will your opponent, and for each 6 that you have, you'll destroy or remove one of the 6-sided dice from their pool. The battle will continue as long as the combat is going back and forth. And once the other side runs out of d6s or loses a certain number of d6s, the battle is over and your side has either won or lost. This is a super simple way to resolve battles, but it works really, really well into the idea of your characters being heroic members of the battlefield as war is raging around them. All you have to do is remember to roll these dice at the end of each combat, and all of the modifiers, the training, the equipment, the terrain, will be factored into the dice that your army is rolling. This way, you get to keep having epic campaign-style battles while still keeping the gameplay fast, furious, and fun. This has been all of the amazing systems that we built into Module 3 of the Pen role-playing game, and this is the height of the player action that you're going to have. Once you have gotten to this point in the rulebook, your character can do a ton of different things, with enough choices and options to keep your character interested in developing for years to come. Module 4 is going to move into the storytelling side of things, where we onboard GMs or game masters and how to tell their own stories, set up sessions, and string those sessions into campaigns. If you're interested in hosting a game or you want to start a new friend group, this is the module for you, so we hope that you'll follow along.